Hey, welcome to another episode of the Matt and Fiona show, which is the working title. We will see.
Yes, we will.
We'll come up with hopefully something better or more effective.
When we do, we'll tell you.
I actually thought we could, I wrote it somewhere, we could do FAM. Fiona and Matt. Ooh, not bad. The FAM show?
We'll talk about it.
That was a no. It is February, and because it is February, as my kids keep reminding me, Valentine's Day is coming up.
Very quickly?
Well, kind of. The reason they are bugging me about it is because they want chocolate. They want me to buy chocolate so they can eat it because they like goodies.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they're all about the goodies. But I won't because I don't care. And chocolate's bad for your teeth. Listen to your dentist. Come on. All right. I don't know. I'm sorry. Let's get into this. When we were planning this show out, not this one, but the show in general, we came up with a bunch of topics that we wanted to hit on. This one was something that I had written down, and one that I really like. One of the people that I've looked up to the majority of my life, and one of my fathers in the faith, has always been Dr. Ed Cole. And he always had a saying. It's in all of his books. It's in, or was in pretty much every meeting that I ever remember going to with him. And it was in, all of his teaching series. It was one of those threads that just went through the entire thing. And it was that statement of, love is not a feeling.
Right.
And when you say that to people, they look at you like you're weird, because to most people, love is a feeling.
Right.
It's warm and fuzzy and
Ooey,
gooey.
gooey.
Yeah. It's Cupid, it's arrows, it's Valentine's Day. It's Hallmark movies where they find true love.
Because they're real.
Yes.
That's reality.
I'm not a prince, but close enough.
Not a princess. Or am I? No.
Yeah, they made a whole movie about it. 3 of them.
Yeah, actually they did.
Yeah. You'll figure that one out, kids. That being said, let's get back into it for a second. What Dr. Cole always talked about was that it is a decision. Because if it's not a decision, when you strictly view love and your love for somebody else as a feeling, what happens when that person no longer makes you feel that way?
Or when problems and situations arise where the feeling
lessens, dissipates,
isn't
there.
Isn't there?
Never happens to us.
No.
Ever.
No.
Right?
Right.
So it is a conscious effort to sit back and take your spouse and remind yourself at all times that you love them, which is easy in our situation because we're adorable.
We are.
Which is the words you were thinking right there. I know.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, they weren't. Ridiculous, maybe.
That's
maybe
possible
not adorable.
too.
Anyways, but that was something that he always talked about that has always stuck with me. It was just such a central part of everything he did, and it directed and kind of focused the way that I always viewed relationships or a search for love before I met you.
And you brought it up even when we first met. When we first met,
why not? I like to try and scare people off early.
Obviously, that didn't work. I'm here.
Which is how I knew you were the one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Gosh, this one's going to be fun. But it is. It's you have to make that decision that through thick and thin, through every fight, through every, which we never, of course, have, but through every moment of frustration, every situation that arises.
Highs, lows, moments.
Everything in between.
Outs. Life.
That no matter what, at the end of the day, and well, like at all times, but
right.
At the end of the day, you love that person no matter what. And again, sometimes you don't like that person, but you love them anyway.
You decide to love. Well, one of the things just based off of that is, and you'd always talked about Dr. Cole, and
Because he's awesome.
well, and he had a lot of influence and impact on you. But through all this, I mean, we're coming up on 17 years of marriage, and jokes aside,
Holy crap.
yes, I know, right?
But we're young. We
We're
got married
very young,
Very
very
well.
young. Well, you did get married.
I did.
Yes, jokes aside, we really don't fight. Our arguments are more discussions, and through that whole love is a decision, it's also become a decision to forgive. It's become a decision to communicate, which
Even when we don't want to.
even when we don't want to, it's a decision to not go to bed angry. Which, I mean, we've had discussions at like 3:00 in the morning.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that one up, because that's the one that every time you go to a wedding, somebody always has they come to your table and they bring the note cards and they're like, can you write a little note to the happy couple? And they put it down and they give it to you. And you know, if you're at a entertaining table, everybody talks about what they're writing down. And most people do the super love, like, buy her flowers and, you know, cook them a steak, you know, like just ridiculous crap. And we always write that one.
Communicate.
It will communicate, but the never go to bed angry,
Yep.
which literally means to us, you're not sleeping if you're mad at each other. Just figure it out.
Literally 3 a.m. discussions are, I mean, it's been a long time, but
Yeah, we don't do too many of those.
No.
Except now when the kids wake us up, because they're
it's
still
a
with
different
us.
story.
But we literally write that, and we typically also tell people that, as I mentioned earlier, you have to remember to love each other even when you don't like each other.
Yeah.
Because there's always something, and again, we've been married for more than a minute, so we've worked through most of the drama that ever comes up.
Right.
Right? We don't
We
really...
we learned each other.
Yeah, we know each other.
I know when he's upset, I give you a few minutes or half an hour or an hour until you're ready to talk.
Me?
You.
Me?
Yes.
I'm sure I've learned things about you, but I don't remember what they are. They're very important.
You listen to me at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great, because I totally didn't want to sleep. But it's once you learn how to communicate with one another, and again, that sounds trite and it sounds simple, but it really isn't.
No.
Because it took us, and we talked a lot early
we
on.
did.
Because if you don't know our backstory, and I'm not going to get into all of it right now, but we had a long distance relationship, so we talked on the phone a ton, which the hidden benefit of that was that we got to discuss a lot of things that we probably wouldn't have if we were in the same city or even within easy driving distance.
Right. We were plane rides away.
Yeah, so it forced us to really get to know each other before we got married and before we started spending every waking hour together, which is awesome. Sorry, I try to be serious, and it doesn't work.
He's not very serious.
Yes, I'm very serious. Serious notes. But this is serious.
This is serious business.
As much as I'm occasionally joking about it, it is. You have to learn how to communicate with one another. You have to learn how to read that person that you are in love with, and know that there are times where I can definitely push your buttons if I want to.
Yes, I'll agree. It's true.
I'm sure you don't ever do anything to push mine.
Of course not.
Never.
Never.
But we also know where and how to deal with that when we do it, even if we don't mean to.
Yeah.
Right?
But so that's the thing, like, even when you do push my buttons or frustrate me, very rare. No, but honestly, very rare.
Yeah, totally, like maybe only weekly.
And And if I've made that decision to love him, I've also made that decision to learn how to kind of diffuse the situation, because depending upon how you handle a situation, it could either blow up on you or you can resolve it. And that comes with the timing is huge. The attitude to which, like, am I going to go look for a fight or am I going to look for a solution? And I choose to diffuse it.
Well, and that's a huge one because,
Yeah.
and we see it too often.
Yeah.
Right? Where people want to win. And for
Yeah.
whatever reason, way too often people want to win against their spouse, which I get sometimes. But long term, it's not good
I think it just leads to more
because and again,
fueling.
you don't want to let somebody else walk over you and like,
Right.
there's a balance to this. But when you are looking to, again, make that decision to love that person,
You're committing to that person.
You're not trying to elongate a fight. You're trying to solve the fight.
Yes.
You're trying to, fix it,
Right.
fix the problem. But you're not trying to aggravate that situation and make it worse. Even though sometimes it happens and sometimes we do it. But we don't try to.
Right. I mean, but
We try not to.
and again, our first year, we had to learn a lot about each other. Our second, third, fourth, and fifth year, we still had to learn how each other worked. I mean, it's a process. It takes time, but we've, again, love being a decision. We've fully decided that we are committed to each other and that with everything else going on in the world, us being at each other,
We're fighting together.
yeah, we are.
We're never
We're not fighting
actively,
against each other.
Exactly. We're always trying to take whatever is causing frustration
Yep.
or discomfort or whatever and use that together to fight it again.
Together.
Because that's kind of why we got married, was to be together.
Yeah. That's usually why you do
Yeah,
it.
it's crazy, right? But it is one of those things where, again, you have to learn how your spouse communicates.
Yep.
You have to learn what ways work best for them.
When to communicate
Yep.
is also huge.
And part of that, kind of on the flip side of it, is you also have to learn their love language. You have to understand how they want to be loved and how they want that expressed. Because we joke all the time because we're a little different in those areas. And we're not getting into that. That's
No.
not for you to know. But if you know me and you know her, you know.
Right.
But you have to know that and understand that aspect of it as well, right? It comes down to, and I'm going to try and narrow it into something super simple, is you have to know each other.
You have to want to know each other.
Yeah, because if you want to know each other, it's so much easier to
Work together.
Well, yeah, but to stay to that level of that decision, right?
Yeah.
That decision to love each other is so much easier to do when you know how that person communicates,
Yep.
how that person wants to be loved.
And honestly, also what ticks that person off so you can avoid that. General talk right now. No, but seriously, general talk.
Well, you do, because we all have ways that will get us frustrated. And if you know that, for example, if you know that someone, not me, really dislikes it when you leave your socks at the side of the bed.
Oh,
Which I do all the time.
it's a minor thing.
And I try not to, sort of. I said it.
I'm just here listening.
But I know that you don't like it, so I try to remember to pick them up. And you know that I'm not trying to do it to annoy you.
Yeah.
So when I forget, you don't pick them up and go,
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah, I don't.
you
right.
just pick them up and throw them in the laundry.
Yeah.
Which is a very, very simple and ridiculous thing. And you all do something very similar
Everybody has their
in your
things.
marriage.
Yep.
But it's really, really simple. We could, if we wanted to, we could find a way to make me forgetting to put my socks in the laundry basket as something that we fight on daily.
Yeah. I could nag you over
I'm
it.
glad I brought this up.
Yes.
So hopefully
So hopefully
this doesn't bite me in the butt.
No.
But it's a really dumb thing that, again, if we didn't make that decision to love each other.
Which also means walk in forgiveness.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's something that we probably should touch on just for a second too. Part of this is you have to make the decision, as we talked about, to communicate, to get to know that person.
Right. Understand them.
But also to forgive and forget, which we shouldn't have to be, as Christians, we shouldn't have to be reminded of this.
Right.
That if you've forgiven someone, you don't go back, right? If it's been forgiven, it's forgotten, and it's like it never happened. But we hear stories all the time, unfortunately,
About what somebody did 10 years ago.
that has finally broken a marriage apart.
Yeah, that people dangle over each other's heads.
Was that even in frame?
I'm short enough. It's in
Okay,
frame.
you're fine.
But no, people do. People hold on to these. They're grudges. They become bitterness.
Issues, yeah.
And it becomes those socks. We'll call them, right. Socks become these mountains that almost become blockades.
Oh yeah.
When instead of getting annoyed and frustrated over it, realizing that it's insignificant and move on.
Yeah. Well, again, if once you make that decision,
It is a two-way street.
Oh, 100%.
Like we
100%.
both. This is a two-way street between him and I. It's not just a one-way street. This is 100% a two-way street.
Once you make that decision that you are going to love that person no matter what, right? That again, it's not a feeling. It's not that, ooh, he loves me, which is how I feel when she tells me that she loves me. But when
Still tell each other you love each other.
it's important.
Yes, it is.
When you make that decision and when you take ownership of that decision, because
Yeah.
and ownership's a big one for me. We're going to touch on that in a future one. But when you make that decision, when you own that decision, it means that even if, to flip the script, not that you leave your socks anymore, but if you were to leave your socks
Right.
on the side, and for some reason that annoyed me when you did it, but not when I did it,
Right.
which totally makes sense in a marriage. That would be a thing. But if I'm taking ownership of my decision to love you, when I see your socks beside the bed,
Right.
even though it annoys me immensely, which it doesn't, I don't care, as noted.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I see that, if I've made that decision to love you no matter what, it should be easy for me to go pick those up and put them in the laundry
Yeah.
basket. Because I would know that might be tough for, like, and again, we realize how ridiculous this
Right.
example is. But if we realize that is something that you just have a hard time with,
Right.
for whatever reason,
Yep.
I can love you by picking up those socks and putting them in the laundry basket.
Yeah, it's true.
When you take ownership of your decision to love somebody no matter what, I'm not going to say it's easy, because it never is. Marriage is tough.
Yeah. Worth it when done right.
100%.
But yeah.
But anyone who tells you marriage is easy is lying to you. It's tough. It's work.
It's a lot of work.
But when you make the decision to love somebody, when you take ownership of that decision,
Yeah.
it's not that hard, because you want to do things for that person. You want to do things to make that decision that you've made to love someone easier. It's easy peasy.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
I was going to say, but we've grown through that. We've learned how to make that decision. We've learned how to do the things that are difficult for the other person.
Yeah.
And even with 3 kids and sometimes no sleep, and everything else that life throws at you, we've grown and learned and made that decision, and we've become a team.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of work in the beginning, but it really did all stem from that decision to love each other. That love is a decision no matter what.
And it is, when you've made that, the first couple of years, we probably had to remind ourselves of it a little bit more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now I don't ever think about it. Like I don't have to think. It's become second nature. And when I look at people, or when I hear stories about people struggling down the road, right? I typically can look at it and go, well, yeah, because they didn't buy into that decision.
So I'm just going to touch on this one thing while you're saying this. The other decision we made in this is when we did have something that we're working through and going through, we talked to each other and not other people.
Oh God, yeah, we don't talk to anybody else.
Because this is our marriage and we needed to figure this out. So being that loving each other was a decision that we were going to make, we also decided that we were going to work through it, that we together were going to communicate, because we didn't have any other voices speaking against the other person.
Yep.
We didn't have other voices giving poor counsel. We didn't have other people who could then have that ill feeling towards that person and kind of take us in the wrong direction. We went to each other, and the decision was between us. The fixing was between us. The communicating was between us.
Yeah. Because again, it's your marriage. It should be the two of you and the Lord, and nothing else.
Yeah.
And when we had an issue or something that we were working through, we could pray about it. We could
do communion over it.
Do those things.
Yeah.
And with essentially just those 3 people involved, it's really simple, because again, your Bible tells you how to love your wife, how to love your husband.
Yeah.
You really don't need.
It's very clear.
And hopefully I'll get some interesting comments for this one. But you don't need a self-help book to teach you how to do your marriage.
Right.
You shouldn't. It's not, I don't want to say it's not that hard, but it's just not that hard. When you make the decision that you're going to love your spouse no matter what, and they make the same decision to you.
Yes.
Because it is. You have to be equally yoked on that one.
Yep.
Right? But when you both have made that decision, you both take ownership of it.
Yep.
Take ownership of your relationship. It's not that hard.
There's strength in it.
Yeah, it just makes you stronger.
It is. There's strength in that decision.
Cool.
Works for us.
I like it.
Yeah.
So that's what we got for you today. Somewhere we'll try to get somebody to put a link to. Oh, I didn't talk about it on this one. Sorry, we had an issue because I talked about something with Dr. Cole.
You mentioned Dr. Cole in the beginning.
I'll put a link to some of his stuff because he's awesome.
He does have some great stuff.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. You can go back and watch the previous episodes if you've missed them, if you've stumbled upon this one. I don't know where those are yet because we haven't figured that out at the point of this recording. But it'll be in the link
Yes, it will.
somewhere in the show notes. So thanks again for tuning in and hanging out with us as we chat about stuff that we care about. Oh, like each other.
Like each other.
We care about each other.
Well, we
It's
think we're
adorable.
important, and
Where are you going with that?
I was just going to say, we also agree that marriage is worth fighting for, and so we wanted to be able to share some of this with you.
Yeah, cool. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, I don't care, because I didn't do it for you.
No.
But if you want you can hit us up on social media or wherever the heck you found this, and we'll get back to you. All right. Thanks again.
Thanks.
I like how we're doing this weird, like, you're looking, I'm looking. It's great.